Thanks to all the great presentations. Let's listen to our judges thinking.
Great presentations today, 6 really interesting companies. My favorite is Agribody Technologies. What they're attacking in terms of food spoilage and waste could be hugely valuable. The big question is going to be, can they get past the GMO opposition out there? But there's so many people who need this, who will be fine with this. I really feel good about this company. My runner-up picks were Avertech, which seems to be doing a great job in Southeast Asia in ag tech, and Dokot, which is hitting on a big trend right now in keeping our air clean and pure. So those are my picks.
Bill, I agree with you entirely. I very much like the promise of Agribody. I think that maybe we should try to focus first on things that can get into market immediately, such as flowers. The perishable flower market is enormous. Certainly, there are great needs in food, and we should focus on that as well. But I think the path to revenue is probably in flowers. My 2 runners-up were also Avertech and Dokot. So for Avertech, I like what you're doing very much in terms of trying to improve the yield of different plantations. I think you should try to move to a service-based business model where you are providing management services for these facilities, for these plantations. And by management facilities, I mean that you are actually getting paid for the improvement in yield. And then for Dokot, I like what you're doing as well. I'd suggest let's temper down the enthusiasm a bit and really focus on what I would call the blocking and tackling, the basics of getting a company off the ground, getting those initial orders in, working on your supply chain. So that's the manufacturing of the next versions of your products. And also focus on just locking in distribution. As an investor, I want to look for solid relationships, not broad, scattered relationships. So focus, focus, focus.
Thank you. Yeah, this is going to be easy. My top choice is also Agribody, and I think Agribody is really solving a very relevant problem right now, right, in terms of food waste and food spoilage, and it's a critical problem. I think one of the reasons why I like it is that it's really something that really humanity needs. And my runner-up is Dokot, also a very relevant and current solution to a big problem, right? The coronavirus and also infectious disease in general. I also agree that it's really, I think it's, since the business is so new, it's only been launched recently, and you got great initial traction, which is fantastic. Something to think about is really in terms of how do you fulfill that pipeline, right, with the supply chain, but also think about how you really raise the long-term viability of this business. So you're not viewed as a flash in the pan, you sell a whole bunch of these purifiers, and then what's your business after that? I think you need really to, there's a whole, I think, category of solutions that can really be fulfilled. I think overall, I think it's a fantastic job by all the presenters. And if I can give any one advice to everybody here is that make sure your message is relevant to the audience today and given the problems today and tomorrow. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue the sweep for Agribody. I also thought Agribody was the company that had the most interesting technology and probably the one that could fulfill the biggest purpose. And so, everyone else has already spoken to that. And instead of giving a runner-up, what I'll say is all of the other companies caught my interest. The thing that kept me from really getting excited about them is they all seemed like a company that once they gave me this great idea, that there was very little that would stop me from, amassing a little bit of money and going out and starting a competitor. And so I would want to understand more about, how are you blocking, whether it's a patent or something else that you could do like a trade secret, what could you do to stop somebody else from just starting a copycat business? And if they were better funded or better connected, from taking over your market. The one thing that gave me pause with each of the other companies was the ideas were great, but I didn't really see anything that would stop somebody, you know, from even if you're doing a patent, you know, a workaround that would allow you to do something. There was nothing that was so proprietary that I felt that, you know, you will own that market once you've launched. And so I'd like to see more attention paid in the presentation to those things.
Okay. I guess going in the last it gives me a benefit of not having to repeat what everybody else has already said. And I think James made some very interesting points. So, you know, my choices are also the same because I think I like companies that have a very differentiated technology where it is very difficult for somebody else to come in and, you know, come in the way. And this was one of the reasons why I like Agribody. I mean, obviously they have challenges like every startup does. And so my choice is them. And I think for the other companies, I think if they added a little bit more clarity to their message in terms of, you know, their differentiation and the customer segments they're going after and how they want to go after them and in what phases, I think that would make a much better presentation. So thank you.
Paul, I'm going to be the last. So
I'm sorry.
I think you said all the reasons why we chose Agribody. I think I go with that first choice of Agribody. I mean, all the reasons are already said. They have a great story. I mean, looks like they dive pretty deep into the space and they're doing some really exciting thing. And in terms of the runner-up, my choice is Docat. I mean, I think in terms of pitch, in terms of emotions, I think it was a bit on the higher side, but in terms of looking at the technology, also looking at the indoor germ problem, which is huge, I think Docat has a great opportunity to really make an impact there. Thank you.
Thank you, the judges' feedback.